What's up, people? Sorry if I'm like a bit closer because I got in bed. It's gonna it's gonna look a little different in here. So, but today, sorry I didn't do Conjuring 2 yesterday. It's just these last few weeks have been kind of crazy. So I just so Conjuring 2 I am gonna do on Sunday since there's nothing new out like right now. I need to go see in theaters or even just go watch in general. So I could probably just do that on like Sunday. So today I am gonna do The Conjuring. I figure since I got an hour left of Friday the 13th, I figure why not review? And it made sense because I think I'm happy I did it this way because I originally went up because today actually originally the this bullshit new Exorcist was supposed to come out on today, but then they moved it because they got scared of the Taylor Swift movie, so they moved it, and so they moved it up a week, so they moved it last week. So because of that, I figured because originally I was gonna watch the new one. Actually, I think I was gonna watch the original, then watch the new one. I was gonna do it that way, but then I think I did the right choice by going the opposite because how bad this was. And it also happened because it's great because it's Friday the 13th. But it's been a while. I remember watching this the first time like 15 years ago. 14, 15, it's between that two. That movie really was just holy shit. Like, I'm going to title this defining the movie that defined horror, because that's really what it is. While it's not my favorite horror movie, like I would, y'all know it's the original Halloween, but it definitely deserves that title. This is the movie that I argue, if you think about it, we wouldn't, even though it's not a slasher, I feel like it almost definitely helped the slasher genre. Because I mean, this movie like really showed like you could take horror seriously. Because this was the movie that I'd argue that did that. Because Psycho, um, some will be people who argue it's more of a thriller, not just flat out horror. This was flat out horror, and this is one of those movies that even to this day, and I know some people don't really like the React channels, but I've seen React channels on the original Exorcist, all right, like a couple years ago, and I remember seeing him just like even like current day, it still hits. It's one of those movies that like it's generational that's one of those reasons I'm like, why do they even think we needed another one? Because Exorcist to me is not a franchise. I did like 3, but it's not a franchise to me like that. It just you're not following a certain character. There's no need. Really, it's just this one story. Um, Father Karras, starting off as this, because he's kind of like critiquing his not critiquing his faith, but more like he feels like he's losing his faith and he doesn't feel like he's fit for his role. And Chris McNeil and her daughter just seemingly start normal. And one thing they did right compared, just even already, I was just watching this already. I'm like thinking they actually have you get to know Reagan for a little bit, and yeah, they built her up. They give her little character. You get to know her throughout the film, and then something happens. Pazuzu, I don't know if I'm saying the demon's name right, possesses her. And it's a slow process. It's not like immediately she has like the sores. They build up to that. Like even when she initially is possessed, you see something's up with her eye. Like not her eyes, but like something like her eye, like eyes. It's like you feel the tension there. You don't get none of that in this new one. Like, sorry, I don't want to feel like I'm going to be comparing it a lot, but it just was in my head, just noticing immediately the cinematography. The reason I was saying this movie defined horror, because this movie did so great that it really did open the door. I mean, think about it. Next year we got Texas Chainsaw Massacre and on. This movie really showed you can do horror and take it seriously. It not like it be goofy. Hold on. Sorry about that. Like it showed like you can take like this genre seriously, and I think that's why it really it deserves that title because it even to this day, just even think about it, the shot of Father Merrin when he first arrives at the house. You know, the taxi leaves. You just see him, the shadowy figure with his hat. It's all foggy. It's just it sets the tone, the music, and you know it's crazy. And I know I ranted about the music being in the end of the new one. They did that in this one, but it was still earned. The new one they did it in a way where it just felt cheap. I think that's probably more of my problem was it felt cheap. Everything in this one is just earned. You built up to when Reagan finally, even when she first shoves the crucifix up her, or just say vagina, and is one of the craziest shots ever. Or when she first spins her head towards the end of the movie. Like, they build up. Like, even like with the fact that Father Karras couldn't even do it on his own, that he had to go get outside help. And I even like, I think it sucks because Chris McNeil in this one was so much, it's actually great. I love how, like, you really believe, like, she wants to save her daughter. And no one's helping her. The doctors are even the ones who suggested the exorcism. And you really see like no one's trying to help her. Even like some of the priests were like, no, exorcism, we don't do that currently. And Father Karras, he was initially like kind of against it until he finally saw. And that scene was for y'all know I don't like puke, so I'll admit this scene. There's some scenes where it's a little like ugh, but man, do they really just this is gonna be one of those movies that's generational. You know, you can show your kids this, and unfortunately, it I don't think the new one ruins its legacy, but it's just like we didn't need it. So to me, I can just kind of ignore it and just look at it as I kind of more look at it as a one-off. But I do like Exorcist 3, and I'm actually gonna probably review that one. I don't know, maybe next week. We'll see. Think about it. I'll do it, but I'll either if not next week, the week after. But it's still like at least two movies I can be fine with. But like, it didn't need a sequel. I'm fine with it just being a one-off. That ending scene when we finally get to the exorcism is one of the greatest sequences ever. I mean, even the voice, the way the room, you know, it was all cold and you could just feel it. The atmosphere. That was the other thing. Like the cinematography and the atmosphere were just there in this movie. Even in the scenes where it's like not nighttime, they really did a good job. When you first see that scene happen, or even when the scene where the bed shakes for the first time, is still pretty crazy. Like, still very effective. I think William Friedkin, I think is his name, the director of this movie, really captured that. And man, like I said, when we finally get to that scene in The Exorcism, it is one of the greatest sequences ever. Max von Sydow really killed his Father Merrin. Even though you don't get a lot of him in the movie, because we get more. It's almost like more of Father Karras' movie, because you get way more of him. He's almost like the secondary main character. Because now it's like Chris and her daughter. And like I said, they got the right kid actress to play the role. Compared to like, I'm gonna try not to compare it a lot, but there's gonna be a couple moments I will. But like compared to the kids in the new, that was the other one reason it works when it's just one kid, because you can actually develop the character. When you're trying to do two, it makes no sense. But they got a good kid actress. She pulled it off. The scenes where she's supposed to be scary, she actually pulled. Linda Blair did a really good job of portraying scary. She didn't just come off like fake, like where it's forced, you know. So this is definitely a 10 out of 10. Like objectively, this is the movie that, like I said, that defined the genre. Actually, I might even call it that instead of defined horror. I might just define a genre, because it really did. This is the movie like that really. I'm gonna say it again. That showed horror can be taken serious. I kind of agree with some people who say Psycho is more of like a thriller than a flat out straight up. There's horror moments in it, I think, but in terms of like, yeah, I think this is like, yeah, yeah, there was Night of the Living Dead, but I feel like this is the one like that took it to the next level because there will be some people, especially at the time, oh, it's just a dumb zombie movie. That's why I feel like this was the one that like showed like, no, you can do something with horror, and that's why I think it opened the door, even though it's not necessarily the same like genre of horror, like because this isn't a slash, it's more like in the paranormal possession app category. But think about it: Texas Chainsaw, we got Halloween, 5 years later. Like it really set that show like you can this genre you could do something with it and take it seriously. And I think that's one of the reasons it's gonna always be so beloved. And one of the reasons I was kind of against it and just being brought back in general. Just do exorcism movies that are not related to The Exorcist, like The Pope's Exorcist, or even like I liked Exorcism of Emily Rose. Maybe one of these days I'll probably review it. Probably not this year, but at some point I'll review it because I would like to watch it again. I remember liking it because it's like do shit like that. We don't need like this movie really didn't argue. You could argue you didn't even really need the sequels. I liked Exorcist 3, but I could see the argument for not needing sequels because it's like this was just such a good film. Let it just be a one-off story. But 2 films max is fine. It doesn't need more for me. It's this movie really showed you can take the genre to the next level, just the atmosphere. And yeah, it's a slow burn, but not a bad slow burn, a good slow burn. And in the end, Father Karras' sacrifice, and Father Marin, both of them. Father Marin, dying of a heart attack, and then you have Father Karras basically taking the demon, forcing Bazoo to take him, and he jumps out the window, and he goes out brutally. And it's like, and that's why that scene pisses me off in the new one, where it's like, the patriarch, it's like, oh, I wasn't allowed to see the exorcism because I wasn't part of their, like, that pissed me off, because it's like, you reduced these 2 characters who sacrificed themselves ultimately to save Chris's daughter, and you just you reduce them to that. It just, fuck that. So that's one of the reasons, like, he goes out and sacrifices himself for this little girl. Both of them did. So, yeah. 10 out of 10 movie. Definitely going to be one I watch every year. It's just so good. It's just an effective movie. Like, even some of the scares got me, even as someone who's don't really get scared. It's just so well done. Like, you have to almost give it that. So, yeah. Tomorrow, I'm going to be roasting a Screen Rant article I found. A barrel, like, I don't remember the number, but it was like a list of movies that have quote unquote terrible messages, and it's just like I read one. It was like Barbie, that it was like, oh, it didn't have like, even though it had like the quote unquote the feminism message, right? They were all like, oh, it still promoted like capital. I'm gonna go into it tomorrow, but it's like, what the fuck? When you just Screen Rant, I haven't done one in a while because I've been also wanting to focus more on like movies, but I figure why not risk that one? So I'll be doing that, and then Sunday for sure Conjuring 2, and then Conjuring 3 will be definitely back on schedule. We'll do that on next Thursday. It was just schedule's been kind of crazy this week, so also Sunday morning gonna be reviewing a movie called Staying Alive that my friend Steve recommended. So I'll do that like Sunday morning. Maybe tomorrow morning, or not tomorrow, and then I'll set Sunday morning because I don't know if I have time today to watch it, but yeah, it's Sunday morning. So anyway, let's get into the Exorcist. movie opens up. We meet Father Care. Oh, we actually see Father Marin. I actually kind of really like this scene where you see him in like kind of in the field. That was a kind of a cool little scene that kind of establishes that character. But then yeah, we meet Chris McNeil and her daughter Reagan. You know, she seems like a normal little girl. Movie kind of goes normal. And then yeah, eventually she gets possessed. We also meet Father Karras, who goes to his mother. I thought that scene was pretty sad, and she doesn't want him to give up his career, helping. He works with priests and all that, but he just doesn't feel like he has this, his basically he has problems with his faith at the time, and I just it's like almost like he kind of goes through basically an arc in a way, and that's what makes it just kind of just so much more tragic what ends up happening to him, and he this is where like initially, Reagan seems normal, and you get to know her character a little bit. They don't just have her fuck off for like 20 minutes or however long just so you can have them go missing for no reason. That made no sense. Get to know these characters. You don't even get to know these characters because they immediately they both go to the woods, and then this will be the last time I compare. I promise, or at least one of the last times. But if it comes up, it's hard not to. But it's also just like I feel like it's almost disrespectful to this movie. I don't want to harp on the other one, but it's just you get to know this character and they build on her for a little bit of time. And like I said, with a possession, it's just initially, she keeps wetting herself and then the bed just starts shaking. It's a slow process. She doesn't just immediately go to sores, or they don't rely on just shitty jump scares. The scares are earned. And then she tries to go to the doctors at first, Chris, from, Reagan's mom, but she seems fine. Nothing seems out of the ordinary. And then she has another violent outburst, where she seemingly looks like she killed somebody, basically, and slowly this demon's possessing her, and it's slow. Like, how, like, this will be the last time they compare her, like, where they give her that the girl's in the other one. They already basically gave her the sores. They just wanted to rush that, like the look she gets in the end of the movie. Like, she still looks normal, and then she gradually, and even when she has like the tired looking eye, she still looks somewhat normal. And then yeah, she has the that scene with the cross. I don't want to go too into it, but yeah, the scene with the cross. That scene fucked me up too, and just crazy. But it was slow. It was gradual. I think that's what made it work. You're seeing, and I think that's what made it more tragic, because you feel bad for this little girl because something's up with her, and the doctors find, like, because there's a scene where Chris is talking to all these doctors, right, and she refuses to, like, put Reagan in like an institution basically, and one of them suggests an exorcism. And this is where she first hears it, and I think this is then where we have that scene, and then she goes to Father Karras, who initially like doesn't want to do it because he feels like it's dangerous, and almost like because he's like, oh, it's was one of the scenes she mentions, like, that he doesn't want to do it is because, like, it's not like the 1600s. We have learned about mental health and all, like, he's just so almost like scared to do it in a way. So he's like, and I like that. Like, I think that's believable, and you understand it. Like, it is dangerous, But then when he goes to see her, he realizes real quick the puking scene. Man. And we find this is where we learn of the demon Pazuzu has taken her body, and basically says she will use it till she is dead. Reagan, and it's tragic, and it's like a race against time in a way, and I think that's what makes it work too. I think this is why you do try to get good kid actors, because kids are like one of those things that will get the pulls on the heartstrings perfectly. It's like you feel bad for this little girl, man. she's just a normal little girl, and then now she's all possessed, doing this crazy shit. Um, Grant, I know I'm jumping ahead, but the floating scene, or where she spins her neck, the obviously like, going back to the crucifix scene, like just like the fact that like all that, and they took their time. Um, but then yeah, so Father Karras now has to basically find evidence to give to the priest to basically deem it warrant they can get a exorcism, and they actually did it right. When he found the evidence, he went to him, and I like that they used these. I love this scene where he's talking to these other priests, and it's like you made use of them, and that's because they respected the religion. I'm just gonna say it. They respected the religion. You don't have to be religious, but you can still respect the religion, and that's what makes this story work. Because there is a bit of reverence and to what they're trying to do. Like, oh, you have to go to even the doctor suggested it. It's crazy that you can't do that now. And that's one of the reasons the new one didn't work. And there you go. No more after that. But I really I like that's like ultimately what made the new one this one work. And like I said, the atmosphere. Like when Father Marin gets the call, then we see the taxi show up. You have the fog. It's almost like it works too because there's almost like a fog over this house. So I think it's a perfect effect. I don't know if they did that intentionally. If they did not, that would actually be awesome. They didn't even intentionally do that because it gives me that vibe. And then yeah, we get that iconic shot. Father Marin walking in, and it immediately it's already so they do the exorcism, and I love this scene. This scene is and it's only like. It's like the last 20-some minutes of the movie. And it is just some of the greatest cinema ever. The floating, the spinning neck, the talk, puking, just them throwing where they're throwing like this liquid and then it actually cuts her skin. That shot kind of creeped me out. Because Azuzu is tricking Father Karras with his dead wife. No, I don't think it's his wife. I think it's his mom. Never mind. I think it was mom. Never mind. Not his wife. He basically, Father Marin decides he's going to do it on his own. And ultimately, things seem fine. And then when Karras walks back in, we see Father Marin dead because of a heart attack. And it's so creepy. This shot of just Reagan just sitting there while Marin is dead. It's just like, and I actually am happy they didn't show it. You don't need to show he had a heart attack. You don't necessarily need to show that. And then you just see the rage come to Father Karras, man. It's like a switch happens, and he basically demands the demon to take him instead of the girl, and it basically happens. And then he looks like he's about to attack the girl, and he kind of almost snaps out of it. But the shot of him when he does look possessed is creepy as fuck. I'm not gonna lie. Just the second shot you get of it, then he jumps out the window. One of the saddest scenes. Such a sad scene, man. Both of these men sacrificing themselves for this little girl, and it's traumatic for her because she just saw a man jump out the fucking window. Yeah, and they don't hold back. They show him when you see the crowd show up, you see big blood splatter. So then you see Father, I think Keeger is his name, shows up in the end and has a moment with Chris. So I ended up watching the one on HBO Max. So I'm assuming this is the theatrical, where they have a little conversation. He kisses him on the cheek. We see Reagan normal. Then they both walk away, and then we get the music playing. So I'm gonna probably watch the director's cut. I'm probably gonna watch this movie again sometime this month, or maybe closer to Halloween. But yeah, I think this is just such a great one. This is the movie that defined the genre. It really did. It really made the horror that I feel like a lot of us love that spawned after this. This was the one that started because this is the one that got the audience like, yeah, you can take horror seriously, and they really showed it with this one. The atmosphere, the characters, the the fact that like the scares were earned, and to this day, even like people like Generation Z, they can watch this movie and it still scares them. So that really shows you the power of this movie that it can just that's when you know you made a fucking phenomenal film. That's I would almost say cinema. You know you made cinema when it just multi-generational, man. You know, yeah, there's some parts that are a little hokey here and there, and some of the effects that some of the times you're really looking for, yeah, maybe are a little dated, but the movie itself is just one of those that you can't deny, you know. So other than that, guys, 10 out of 10 movie. I definitely recommend it. Even if you're not into horror, I just feel like it's one of those movies you just gotta watch it once. You know, it's just it's a part of like film history. You know, I look it's one of those films. It's like you know how some people like films like Godfather, Scarface. This is one of those for me. Even if you don't like horror, I'm gonna say I'm sorry. If you don't like horror, I just feel like you like just once watch it. It's that kind of movie. But anyway, Screen Rant is gay video tomorrow, probably in the evening, about the same time as today. We'll see. But other than that, guys, cheers and talk to y'all later. One positive, I will say, and I was always had a feeling this was gonna be. It gave me an excuse to review the original. So yeah. Anyway, talk to y'all later.